time for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, brought to you by Loophole, America's optical authority. Check out their scopes, binoculars, and more at loophole.com. By Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors. See what's cooking for you at campchef.com. By Wallowa County, nature never looks so good as it does in Northeast Oregon. Plan your trip today at WallawaCountyChamber.com. By Max Lure Company, makers of the Smile Blade and Wedding Ring Spinner. Find out more at maxlure.com. And by Mardon Resort, where the fish bite, but we don't. Book your next hunting, fishing, or camping getaway at mardonresort.com. Now, let's head to the field and find out what's going on this week with your host, John Cruz.
We're starting off today's show with some good news. It turns out we won a first and second place Excellence in Craft Award from the Northwest Outdoor Writers Association for two of our broadcasts that aired last year. Our first place winning came from our exploration of Idaho's Snake River country last summer, and our second place finish was a unique broadcast that had us talking about the Audubon Christmas bird count during one portion of the show, and then had us banging away with shotguns and geese at Eastern Washington during another segment. You've got to admit, we are an eclectic bunch here at Northwestern Outdoors Radio, and apparently it works. So, to my peers in the outdoors media industry, thank you. We appreciate the vote of confidence more than you know. Turning towards this week's show, we've brought you broadcasts recently from Oahu and Flathead Lake, Montana, and you may be thinking we've got a travel bug. Well, you're right. We do. We've got an itch that we just want to scratch. And with that in mind, we want to tell you about a place that I have literally been longing to go to for years, but just haven't been able to get there yet. The place is called Rancho Leonero. It's a remote fishing resort on Baja, Mexico's uncrowded East Cape, and you can catch all sorts of fish out of the Sea of Cortez. You can go kayaking, you can go snorkeling, you can hang out on the beach. It just looks like a lot of fun, and I can't wait to talk to Jeannie Ireland to share it with you. After we talk to Jeannie about fishing at the ranch, we're heading back to western Montana to check out the big game animals with Denver Holt. Denver operates Wild Planet tours and takes folks on guided wildlife watching tours, not only in western Montana, but in all sorts of other interesting places. While we were in western Montana, we discovered a fantastic lodge, restaurant, and bar we just have to tell you about. It's the Nine Pipes Lodge. It's located right off of Highway 93 between Missoula and Glacier National Park, and right across the road from the Nine Pipe National Wildlife Refuge. We'll be taking a break from a tasty lunch there to talk to manager Brian Morton about this wonderful family-run destination that would make an awesome base camp for any wildlife watching adventure you would want to have around here. After that, Lance Mers is back with an extended Max Minute focused on one of the most popular trout trolling lures out there, the world-famous wedding ring spinner, and we note the passing of Billy Frank, a controversial but pivotal figure in the Northwest fishing scene over the last 50 years. But first, David Sparks has a new edition of Sportsman Spotlight for you. This week, David tells you about an Idaho ranch where you're not going to find cattle, but instead, you're going to find elk.
All the elk you could ever want to eat. David Sparks, Sportsman Spotlight. I don't know about you, but I think elk is about the greatest eating that you can ever possibly find. But I do hear from lots of fellow sportsmen that elk are getting harder and harder to find due to the wolf population depredating our wild elk herd. Enter Jerry Molinar, who owns Timber Butte Elk Ranch in Horseshoe Bend, Idaho.
We have a elk ranch. We have 120 acres currently, and we have about 35 acres under 8-foot fence. We currently have a herd of about 45 head. Most of them are cows, our breeding stock.
It's reminiscent of cattle ranching, isn't it?
It's very similar. You treat them very similar to cattle as far as vaccinations. We don't use any growth hormones or any additives at all. We treat them as far as worming them a couple times a year, and that's about all we do. Otherwise, we feed them with alfalfa and grass hay and supplement a little bit with grain. They breed pretty much similar as far as cattle goes. It's a 9-month gestation for the cows. We turn our bulls in the last of August into September, take them out in November. We use the calf in mid-May through June.
And how is business?
It's an industry that's growing. It's still relatively new throughout the Northwest, but it's growing steadily. It's an item that's very healthy compared to other meats and fishes. We found our own niche and we're growing steadily.
Less cholesterol than beef?
Absolutely. It's quite a bit less than beef. Elk don't marble like beef. All the fat is external fat, and it's removed once it's processed.
This is David Sparks for Sportsman Spotlight.
Farmer Marty Lux on Northwest Farm Credit Services.
When farming's really good, you get called by all kinds of banks wanting your business, but when it's bad, you don't get called. And Farm Credit, it really doesn't seem like it's a shock to them that there's going to be a downturn. You know, they understand it, and they make sure that you are prepared for it. I can't imagine being a farmer and not banking with Farm Credit.
Northwest Farm Credit Services. Customer owned, customer driven. Rancher and Northwest Farm Credit Services customer Susan Doverspike talks about the organization's commitment to rural communities.
In my area of Eastern Oregon, we're as remote and rural as you can be in the lower 48. Northwest Farm Credit donated $5,000 towards getting the latest and greatest ambulance for our community. I am pleased that Northwest encourages their staff to be a part of the community in a variety of ways.
Northwest Farm Credit Services. Customer owned, customer driven.
From the Columbia River to Puget Sound, the Coastal Conservation Association in the Pacific Northwest works to conserve the fish we love and does so while protecting our heritage of sport fishing. To find out more, go to ccapnw.org. Again, that's ccapnw.org.
I'm gonna take you fishing, honey. You're gonna love it. Gonna get up before the sun rise above us. Got a bamboo pole.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. I got to tell you, folks, about a place I have been itching to go to literally for 10 years. It's located on the East Cape of the Baja Peninsula in Mexico. It's called Rancho Leonero, and I'm here at the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show. So if you hear some background noise, that's why. And it turns out Rancho Leonero's got a booth here. With us here to tell us more about the place I am just dying to go to is Jeannie Ireland. Jeannie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. Happy to be here.
Jeannie, again, you're located in Mexico, you're on the Baja Peninsula, but it's a little more than that. I mean, this is a remote sort of getaway resort. Tell our listeners about how to get there and some of the amenities of the resort.
Well, we're a 34-room resort. We're family-owned and operated for over 30 years now. It's a little slice of old Baja. You want to fly into the Cabo Airport. We're just a 45-minute drive from there. We're down a little patch of dirt highway, very secluded. Beautiful bar, inclusive 3 meals daily, great meals, made-to-order breakfast, fixed menu for the lunch and dinner. We'll cook up your catch. We also have a private fleet of boats, Pongas, all the way up to a 55-foot Mickelson. So we can really cater to any kind of angler, and we often cater to families that just want to relax.
You know, what I really like about this is that it's a small resort. You're located in a secluded part of the peninsula right on the Sea of Cortez. And literally, I mean, it's so quiet. I understand that in the evening, you'll actually have cows wandering up and down the beach. I mean, this isn't a place where you're going to have people shoving trinkets in your face and disturbing you all day, is it?
No, absolutely not. That's definitely the appeal. We've got 3 miles almost of private beachfront property. We've got kayaks. We've got wonderful snorkeling. It's beautiful, clean water. Really quite amazing. We've had people coming since the 30s, really. It's been a hangout for the Rat Pack bunch since Bing Crosby. They've been flying down on private airplanes to take advantage of the beauty of this spot. It really is quite amazing.
So again, folks, we're talking about Rancho Leonero, a small and absolutely gorgeous resort on the East Cape of the Baja Peninsula in Mexico. And most people are coming there for the fishing, because I understand the fishing is just lights out there. A lot of different species to fish for, depending on the time of year. What are some of the more popular species of fish that people are going after, and when are they fishing for them?
We actually have yellowtail biting right now. Yellowtail is peak in the springtime. We have tournaments for that. Amazing. We're kind of the secret on the East Cape for the yellowtail fishing. A great inshore species as well, snapper, pargo, cabria, sierra, what we call toro. It's really quite good fishing during the springtime. In the summer, we start getting smaller tuna, dorado. We've got striped marlin. We catch the larger tuna later on, July, August, September. We've got wahoo, the blue and black marlin. In fact, that's why their Bisbee tournament is held on the East Cape in October. It's really fantastic fishing.
Something else I want to talk about, one of the more popular species to go after in the Baja Peninsula, roosterfish. Do you have good fishing for roosterfish down there. Gorgeous fish.
Absolutely. They're a game fish. They're very prolific. They tend to bite from the late spring all the way through September, catching sardine and pushing the sardine and the bait up onto the beach. So you can actually catch them right from the beach. We actually have a lot of fly fishermen that come down just for the roosterfish.
And folks, I got to tell you, one of the reasons I want to go to this resort so bad is because you have different opportunities to fish. So you can go ahead and book a cruiser and you can go offshore. You can go ahead and book a panga and you can do the inshore fishing. You can go ahead and get a kayak and fish right off the double reef they have right in front of the resort, or you can walk the 3 miles of beach and fish from shore. I mean, you've really got it all, and you can do any sort of style of fishing you want to.
That's very true. You could go out kayak fishing if you wanted to have a peaceful individual experience. We've got loads of kayaks. We've actually got paddle boards as well if you wanted to just walk out and look at the reef and paddle and have a secluded experience. You can really have any type of fishing or outdoor experience that you'd like to have on the East Cape. It really is an old slice of Baja.
Speaking of outdoors experiences, snorkeling. Now again, you've got that double reef, and that's kind of rare for the resorts there to actually have a place right in front of the resort to go snorkel, but I understand there's some excellent, world-class snorkeling just a short distance away as well.
That's very true. Cabo Pulmo, I think, is what you're thinking about. That is one of the living barrier reefs on the northern hemisphere. It's got amazing species, and we do have a spinoff from that reef system. So the snorkeling in front is amazing. And the water is warm year-round, so just you can grab our equipment and just take a peek at what we have right in front of the resort. And we can also set you up with one of the outfits to do a snorkeling trip out of Cabo Pulmo if you like.
Speaking of outfitters that you work with, I understand you have other recreational activities as well. Horseback rides, ATV, hiking, jogging. What else do you have to offer? And tell us more about these activities.
Well, we do have hiking trails up behind the resort. You can come and do a small hike and walk up to the peak and take a look out over the ocean. It's really quite beautiful. We also have a lot of people that would like to take advantage of ATVs. There's an outfit that comes and brings ATVs so you can do your own little touring around. That's quite popular. You could take shopping excursions. There's zip lining nearby. There's even a dolphin encounter now in Cabo. So there are quite a few recreational activities that you could take advantage of outside the resort. A lot of people do choose to stay and relax and take advantage, but if you wanted to come outside and check out the area, we're happy to help you do that as well.
I'll tell you what, my working definition of heaven is going to be come visit your resort and fish and snorkel and kayak and just, hang out by the pool that's right there on the beach. Enjoy the good food. Enjoy some adult beverages from time to time. Sounds fantastic. What do you suggest in terms of how much time a person ought to spend to really soak it in and recharge those batteries?
I would really suggest about 5 nights, but a lot of people now can take only weekends, and you can have a great experience over an extended weekend. We could help you do that. You can find great flights, though, midweek. I'd suggest checking that out if you can. We're always happy to help you as well. If you want to give us a call, we can give you suggestions and advice. No problem at all.
All right. Before we go, we better give people a website and a phone number to find out more about booking a trip at Rancho Leonero.
I would love to. It's rancholeonero.com. You can also give us a call at 1-800-646-2252. We are there to answer the phone from 8:30 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m., Monday through Friday, Pacific Standard Time.
Again, that's Rancho Leonero. Rancho, I don't have to tell you how to spell that. Leonero is spelled Leonero. RanchoLeonero.com, or give them a call, 1-800-334-2252. That's 1-800-334-2252 for a great fishing and relaxing vacation in sunny Baja, Mexico. Jeannie, thanks for telling us all about this. Can't wait to come visit you in person sooner than later.
Thank you so much. Have a great one.
Rides above us, got a bamboo pole and a leaky boat. It ain't much, but if you bail, it'll float. I'm gonna take you fishing, honey. You're gonna love it.
Hey, let me get up on this log for a shot of the family.
Dad, logs roll. Fred, get down here this second.
What are you, a bunch of worrywarts? What could go wrong?
Whoa!
It only takes 4 inches of water to lift a 5-ton log.
Daddy, are you all right?
What happened?
Log roll, Dad. Mother Nature won. Dad, 0.
Fred was lucky. Every year others are not so fortunate. Stay away from the logs. Respect the beach.
Looking for the ultimate salmon and halibut fishing experience at a great price? Then make plans to enjoy the real news for the Wild Northern Fish-In. Taking place August 23rd through the 26th. You'll be fishing the protected waters around British Columbia's Queen Charlotte Islands during the day and enjoying first-class food and accommodations at night. If you want an incredible saltwater fishing experience you'll never forget, the Wild Northern Fish-In is for you. Find out more at therealnews.com. That's the real, REEL news.com for the Wild Northern Fish-In.
Hi, I'm Craig Boddington. I've written about hunting for 40 years, much of it in bear country. I trust my life to bear spray because the research is in. It stopped bears 92% of the time and prevented injury 98% of the time. Bear spray requires less accuracy and won't harm your companions or the bear. Carry bear spray in bear country. Keep it accessible and practice.
Tall Timber Ranch is about
spending time outdoors
and having fun
and getting closer to God.
Find out more at talltimber.org.
We are the young minds that will shape tomorrow's world. But today, the world is in your hands. What's your vision for the future? Ducks Unlimited has had the same vision for over 75 years. A future with clean water, abundant wildlife, and plenty of places to enjoy nature.
There's a lot of work to be done, but with a little help from you, our future is looking really bright.
Ducks Unlimited, working for conservation for generations to come.
A public service from Ducks Unlimited.
We're back with John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
It's time for another Max Minute.
Fish on!
Brought to you every week by Max Lure Company. And this week, we've got Lance Mers back with us. Lance, it's trout fishing time. What should people be doing if they're trolling around some of the lakes here in the great Northwest to go ahead and hook into some nice trout?
Well, John, I think every fisherman should have a Max Lure wedding ring spinner in their tackle box.
The wedding ring spinner, that's truly the lure that started it all for Max Lure Company back in 1969. For those very few people who don't know what this spinner is, describe it for our listeners.
Well, the wedding ring spinner is basically a fishing lure designed for trout. It comes in 20 different setups and 4 different sizes, and it's an inline spinner blade that has an Indiana blade on it, and most of our blades are high UV that gives a lot of vibration and flash in the water.
So the wedding rings we're talking about today, when we're talking Indiana blade, those are metal blades. Do we also have wedding rings with the smile blades that Max has too?
We sure do, and they're called Wedding Ring Pros. It's got a Max Lure smile blade on it, which is a lightweight inline spinner blade that's composed of mylar plastic.
Now that one, the smile blade, spins at very slow speeds. The Indiana blade, the metal blade, that's the one that's been around forever and just normal trolling speed for that. You know, when you fish these lures, how deep do you usually fish? I mean, what's a normal setup for you if you're going after trout at an unknown lake here in the Northwest?
Well, for unknown lakes, that's the great thing about these wedding rings is its versatility. You can cast these and you can troll them. And when I'm trolling them, I'm usually trolling them anywhere between 10 to 20 feet down. If I'm casting it, of course, it's going to be closer to the surface, which is where a lot of those trout are going to be found.
Well, there you go, folks. That's the wedding ring spinner. It's the original from Max Lure, which also makes the patented smile blade, and that wraps up this week's Max Minute.
Looking to leave the world behind? Then escape to Northeast Oregon's Alpine Country, Wallowa County. With over 560 miles of trails and 60 high mountain lakes, the Eagle Cap Wilderness beckons you to explore. The deep glacial waters of Wallowa Lake call you to fish for record kokanee in the Hells Canyon, North America's deepest river canyon, lures you to experience the wild waters of Snake River. Wake up to the world of Wallowa County. Your morning begins at WallowaCountyChamber.com.
Yeah, you, the guide, outfitter, or outdoors business owner who's listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Have you ever thought of becoming a sponsor of our show? We've got local sponsor opportunities at all 50 of the stations that carry Northwestern Outdoors every week, and we've got some network opportunities too. If the outdoors is your business, we can help you with your advertising needs. Contact me, John Cruz, through our website at northwesternoutdoors.com. That's northwesternoutdoors.com, helping you get the word out about your outdoors company.
Good hunters know before you take that shot, you've got to see the whole picture. Now, the best way to do that is with a spotting scope, binoculars, or a rifle scope, but it's got to be from Leupold. Now, Leupold is a Northwest company with a reputation that stretches across the world for making superior optics. The kind of optics that allow you to see what you need before making that stock or pulling that trigger. Look for Leupold Optics at your local Cabela store, Dick's Sporting Goods, or online at Leupold.com. Leupold, America's optical authority.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We're broadcasting from the National Bison Range, and I'm hanging out with Denver Holt. Denver Holt actually gives wildlife tours under the brand name of Wild Planet Nature Tours. And he's taking us here, and folks, we are literally steps off the highway. And in the last 5 minutes, I've seen bighorn sheep, I've seen Rocky Mountain elk, I've seen bison, I've seen mule deer, I've seen a pronghorn, I've seen geese, I've seen waterfowl, all from a vista that most people drive past at 60 miles an hour. This is incredible, Denver. Tell me more about wildlife watching here in the Mission Valley of western Montana.
Well, wildlife watching is just a big business, number one. I mean, it's an enormous business. It dwarfs almost all other recreational outdoor activities in the amount of money and the amount of participation, but it's something that has those figures, yet hardly anyone knows anything about it. And here in the Mission Valley, where I live, we do a lot of wildlife watching. You know, what's so unique about the Mission Valley is that we have a combination of lands. We're on the Flathead Indian Reservation, number one, and there's a lot of tribal lands here, and tribal conservation lands, and tribal wildlife management lands, etc. So you have that, and followed by that, you've got like Fish Wildlife Service national parks or national wildlife refuges that are for waterfowl and or like the National Bison Range here, you know, for bison, etc. And then you've got state lands administered by Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, which are geared towards, you know, a variety of hunting species. So you've got these conservation lands here. You also have the first tribal wilderness area established in the United States by the Flathead Indian Reservation, and primarily that serves as an area where grizzly bears are alive and well and doing real good here. So you have all this wildlife, and then you've got the private lands. There's mostly farming and ranching communities, and the way that they administer or manage their lands also provides for wildlife. So it's all here in the Mission Valley, which makes it an outstanding destination for people to come here and see a great diversity of wildlife.
So why don't we start off with a typical tour? And I guess we'll start off by, you know, most people are going to find you on your website, Wild Planet. Is it wildplanetttours.com?
Yeah, Wild Planet Nature Tours is our nature tour company. It's a small company, and we guide tours in Montana and also outside of Montana. You know, we've guided in Mexico. We just got back guiding in Yellowstone and things like that. So that's how you would do it, is go to wildplanettnaturetours.com.
So let's say I book a trip for here in the Mission Valley, and I'm getting a taste of it today, and it's a great taste, by the way, folks. Do you basically meet at the local hotel, or you know, guide me through a typical outing?
Okay, typical outing, you know, most people fly into Missoula, for example. And so our first night is spent in Missoula, and I actually have 14 people coming in tonight for a tour. I just finished a tour with the Pittsburgh Zoo 2 weeks ago. Now, our first night will be in Missoula, then we'll migrate north here tomorrow morning, and we'll stay at the Nine Pipes Lodge, which is perfect because it's so centrally located. And then from there, we'll sally out and we'll just, you know, do our tour. Each day we've got something on the agenda. All right, we want to try to find this, we want to try to find that. And then we also want to leave a little bit of room for, if we don't find it, we can go back and try to find something else again. This particular tour coming in is going to specialize more on owls with 1 day of general wildlife viewing. The one I just did in Yellowstone National Park for the Pittsburgh Zoo focused on predators and prey and large mammals.
Well, you're an owl guy, which means you're a raptor guy. What is that hawk that's flying right behind us right now?
That's a northern harrier. It looks more like a female flying away from us. And you can see the dihedral V-shaped wings, long narrow wings, long tail, and the white rump, and brown overall, again, indicative of a female.
Well, there you go, folks. And if you're with me, I would either say it's a red tail or not a red tail, and that's about what you get. So, again, the advantage of going with the guide is you get this very quick identification. He knows where to take you, so you're going to see lots of wildlife like I've seen in just the last few minutes. And it looks like you're doing multi-day trips. Do you do single-day trips as well?
Yeah, quite a bit. You know, we've got a really good reputation as good guides. So a lot of people will call up and say, you know, would you just guide for my family or just me and my friend or my husband and I? Just a one-day trip. We'll be passing through Montana on these dates rest on the way to somewhere else, and we'll accommodate that where possible. And sometimes we'll just do 2 and 3 day trips, and it just depends on the trip. The last trip we did, I think, was 5 or 6 days for the Pittsburgh Zoo. This one coming up is 4 field days, 5 days in total.
Again, you're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're broadcasting from the National Bison Range in western Montana between Missoula and Polson. And we're talking to Denver Holt. He is the owner of Wild Planet Nature Tours, and he offers guided wildlife watching trips. So we talked about going with you as a guide, but let's talk about those people that are going to strike out on their own, because God knows there's a lot of public land out here. And I guess we'll start off with here, the National Bison Range. What are some must-see places that people ought to go to here on the range?
Oh, the National Bison Range is, even though it gets a good visitation, it's one of those places that's just overlooked. I would say in western Montana, outside of Yellowstone National Park, the National Bison Range is the best place to view large mammals, as you just noted. And so definitely you want to go to their visitor center. They have a phenomenal visitor center here, and they have a really good staff, very knowledgeable staff, tell you a lot about the range, a lot about the natural history of the species here. So you would come here and go to the range. Now, they have self-guided tours, and they're really easy to do. You just can go up and over the top of the hill. There's places to stop and overlook. The only thing a guide like myself would add to that is we know where the animals hang out, but the staff could tell you that. And then just a little bit more about their natural history other than just identification.
So another place you took us to today, the Nine Pipe National Wildlife Refuge, which is right across the road from the Nine Pipes Lodge you told us about, and that's got a lot of waterfowl, a lot of raptors. We saw some bald eagles in the trees. What else are you going to see there?
Oh, well, the waterfowl show is phenomenal, and then also, too, we have 5, sometimes 6 species of grebes out there, and very few people really know that you can see a lot of species of grebes. We have, during the migration, a good number of shorebirds that find, foraging areas along the edge of the ponds and dried up mud flats and things like that. The eagles, as you mentioned, the pelicans are really a great show to watch as the white pelicans come in. And then we've got gulls, if people like gulls. There's gulls on the islands. Peregrine falcons hang out in the area. Right now we're in the transition period, but things are starting to settle in for the breeding season. And the Nine Pipe Wildlife Refuge, again, is Fish and Wildlife Service administered, as is the Bison Range. And then you also have, again, state lands and tribal lands. You have to have permits to do all this. And so, this tour that we're doing today is just, a complimentary tour to the Northwest Outdoor Writers Association. That's what you're part of, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing today. But you also have to have permits and talk to the appropriate people to make sure that you do everything that's right.
All right, but there is lots of public access on both the National Bison Range and also on the Wildlife Refuge area, and it's easy to find. You're going to know exactly where it's at. You're going to have great viewpoints right then and there. What other places should people visit when they're in the Mission Valley?
Well, just drive the back roads, as you say, and there's all kinds of wildlife to see, and it's all public access, the back roads. I think that, besides the Nine Pipe Lodge, which is a central location for going out to wildlife tours, there's also the Nine Pipe Museum of Early Montana, which is located near the lodge, and that's really neat. It just talks about the history of, the Native Americans as well as the farming and ranching communities in the valley. There's also the St. Ignatius Mission, which is right down here in St. Ignatius, built by the Jesuits, I think around 1854 when the original mission was constructed, and now the big brick mission with the frescoes on the ceiling and stuff like that, or a big tourist attraction, and I believe it's on the National Historic Register and also ranked as one of the top most beautiful missions in the United States. Oh, and one more thing is Flathead Lake, and in Polson is kind of like the stop off or the beginning of the Flathead Lake, moving from south to north. You want to see Flathead Lake. It's the largest natural freshwater lake west of the Mississippi River, and it's just a beautiful, pristine lake, and that's one of the stop off areas that people should visit as well.
And not only that, bring your fishing rod, because there's some great lake trout fishing there too. We have got to go, but let's go ahead and give people the website again so they can find out more about wildlife watching here in the Mission Valley and going on a guided trip with you.
Yeah, and that's the Wild Planet Nature Tours at wildplanetnaturetours.com is our tour business.
That's wildplanetnaturetours.com, wildplanetnaturetours.com. Go on a trip with Denver Holt. He's going to show you a whole bunch of wildlife. Denver, thanks for this outing. Really appreciate it.
Well, thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Leupold has been building optics in Oregon since 1907, and Leupold binoculars bring excellent optical performance and modern styling to the serious outdoorsman. Whether you're a boater, birder, backpacker, or hunter, Leupold's state-of-the-art binocular lines are sure to fit your needs. From the Poro Prism Yosemite series to the top-of-the-line McKinley Roof Prism, Leupold has a product that is perfect for the passions you pursue. Visit Leupold.com, or your local Cabela's, Bi-Mart, or Sportsman's Warehouse to see the full line of Leupold optics.
Today's line of portable camp stoves from Camp Chef have come a long way from your father's propane stove, featuring matchless ignition, more cooking power, and in some cases a built-in grill or extra burner. Look for the complete line of Mountain Series stoves at your local sporting goods store or online at campchef.com. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
Breathe the fresh mountain air and feel the tranquility in Northeast Oregon's Wallowa County. Cast your line into the clear waters of our mountain-fed streams and rivers. Find solitude and surround yourself with nature as you fish for rainbow, brook, and bull trout. Or challenge yourself and fish for world-class steelhead in the wild and scenic Wallowa River or kokanee in the deep waters of Wallowa Lake. And when evening comes, spend some time hoisting a local brew and telling the tales of the one that got away. Watch the world wake up in Wallowa County. Your morning begins at WallowaCountyChamber.com.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. It's time again for news and reports from the field, brought to you every week by Mardon Resort at Eastern Washington's Potholes Reservoir. The big news that we told you about last week is their brand new RV site edition. They built a whole new section of the resort, and they've got it set up specifically for big RVs. You've got hookups. They've even got a couple of camper cabins there, and it's all right on the lake. Find out more at mardonresort.com. That's Mardon Resort, where the fish bite, but we don't. The biggest news to hit the Northwest the past couple of weeks has been the passing of Nisqually tribal member Billy Frank. He's a man who was labeled during his life as a Indian fishing activist, a criminal, a pain in the butt, and as a standard bearer for tribal fishing rights. But I think now everyone will agree Billy was a larger-than-life figure on the Northwest fishing landscape over the last 50 years, and it was Frank who was a big part of the famous, or, depending on your point of view, infamous Bolt decision of 1974, where federal Judge Bolt decided Northwest tribes were entitled to 50% of the salmon and steelhead harvest in accordance to treaties they had signed, instead of the 5% of the fish they had been harvesting prior to that time. Frank was 83 years old when he passed on this month, and in contrast to the harsh words leveled at him 40 to 50 years ago, he was lauded in death by praise from Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife Director Phil Anderson, Governor Jay Inslee, and even President Barack Obama. Rest in peace, Billy. You made a difference. Turning to the category of sports I wish they had when I was a kid, the Washington State High School Bass Fishing Championship is taking place at Lake Chelan's Old Mill Park in Manson this Saturday the 17th. Kids will be taking off in boats at 5:30 a.m. this weekend and coming back for their Saturday weigh-in, which is open to the public at 2 p.m. The whole thing is being put on by FLW and the Bass Federation, and all I can say is, man, oh man, wouldn't it be nice to be a high school kid with access to a fishing boat now? Because this would be a great sport to participate in. Next up on this special Western Montana edition of Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we're talking to Brian Morton. He's one of the owners of Nine Pipes Lodge. If you're traveling from Missoula up towards Polson and Flathead Lake, you're going to drive right past the lodge, and you really ought to stop in. I'm actually sitting here in the bar with Brian, and there's incredible taxidermy here. Everything from elk to bears to bobcats, and even, of all things, a really big alligator. What the heck is that all about, Brian?
Yeah, we've got a great collection of stuff here. We've got some good friends. They do a lot of hunting, a lot of outdoors, and this is just a great place for them to put it. Got nice tall ceilings and kind of can keep it all under one roof and really kind of showcase their collections.
Well, the alligator with the javelina in its mouth is something else. I'm sure that's a real conversation starter. So you've got the bar here. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about Nine Pipes Lodge?
So we do have the bar here. This is Allentown Bar. It's located inside our lodge, which is a 25-room lodge right in western Montana in the heart of the Mission Valley. It's called Nine Pipes Lodge. And this is the number one jumping off point you could have for trips to the refuges nearby. The Bison Range is 5 minutes away. Flathead Lake is 10 minutes away. And there's just an exceptional amount of wildlife viewing opportunities right here within minutes of our lodge. And so that's kind of, the focus we have is to bring people in, take them out, and really show them what we have here in the valley and kind of show off what's right here in our backyard.
Well, not only what's right here in the backyard, literally right across the street is the Nine Pipe National Wildlife Refuge. You've got a nice little pond right in the back of your lodge there. You got a dining room that looks out right over the pond. You can see the birds. You can see saw a muskrat swimming by while I was eating lunch. And by the way, folks, lunch here is fantastic. Do you serve up 3 meals a day? Because this is good food.
We do a Sunday brunch. Other than that, we do 6-7 days a week. Our restaurant opens at 11 o'clock for lunch and dinner as well. Yeah, our dining room has phenomenal views right up the McDonald Canyon, the Mission Range, and we are literally 2 feet from the water here on our own private kettle pond, which, we have geese nesting right now, great horned owls nesting, hawks and muskrats, and it's just time just flies by when you're sitting there, enjoying your meal.
Well, and again, the view's fantastic. Right out the window again, you've got the pond, you've got the mountains in the background, just stunning backdrop to your meal. Tell me a little bit about the rooms and the lodge itself. What kind of experience are people going to have here?
Well, we try and create a lodge feel and extended stays, because there's no way you can see everything that is to offer here in the valley in, a 1-day or a 2-day overnight stay. And so we've got 25 hotel rooms, and 10 of them face the Mission Range and the our reservoir back here. Those 10 rooms have exterior doors. They're fully remodeled, and we just try and create more of a home-like experience for you, so you're to maximize comfort while you're here.
So there you go, folks. Whether you're into wildlife watching at the Bison Refuge or at Nine Pipe Wildlife Refuge, or if you want to head on up to Flathead Lake and maybe do some fishing for some of those Mackinac trout up there, this is your base camp. Let's go ahead and give people a website and a phone number so they can go ahead and book a stay and find out more.
Yeah, you can find us on Facebook, or just go right to our website at ninepipeslodge.com, and our phone number is 644-2588.
That's area code 406-644-2588 or ninepipeslodge.com. Again, ninepipeslodge.com in Charlotte, Montana. And I guess we ought to ask the Facebook page, is it just Nine Pipes Lodge?
It's actually under Facebook /Allentown Bar and Restaurant.
Well, there you go. Find out all about it. Make sure you drop in. You're really going to enjoy this place. Brian, thanks for telling us all about it on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you.
All right, it's time to leave Western Montana, but we're going to end this segment where we began with some music from Dusty Klink, a talented singer and songwriter, and also one of the co-owners of Klink's Resort on Williams Lake, about 45 miles southwest of Spokane. Another great destination if you want to play outdoors.
When it comes to camping, I like to relax, but I was getting stressed about camp cooking. Then I discovered the Camp Chef Portable Outdoor Oven. This junior-sized oven works with a small propane bottle and is perfect for family camping trips. With a matchless ignition, heating up to 400 degrees, and space to put a 9x13-inch pan, I can cook cinnamon rolls for breakfast, casseroles for dinner, and pie for dessert. Look for the Portable Outdoor Oven at a store near you or online at campchef.com. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
We're talking to Mike Meisberg at Mardon Resort today about one of the big reasons you'll want to stay at Potholes Reservoir in sunny eastern Washington this spring. What's the big deal, Mike?
We have over 50 sheep lakes below Sullivan Dam for trout, perch, crappie, and bass in the spring, while Potholes Reservoir is a bass and walleye fisherman's mecca.
There you have it. Great fishing under sunny skies. Find out more at mardonresort.com. That's Mardon Resort, where the fish bite, but we don't.
Hey, honey, come here. Check out these new loophole binoculars. They're not only great to see birds with and animals with, but check out the stars. Hey, and since there's a full moon tonight, I thought it'd be a perfect time to break them in. Here, take a look.
Wow, I can't believe it. You can actually see the craters on the moon.
Oh, but it gets better than that. See that gray area up there right to the right? That's the Sea of Tranquility. That's where the astronauts landed on the moon and planted the American flag.
This is so cool.
Now, if you look close, you can still see that flag.
Stop telling her stories.
Don't worry, Dad. I saw it. It was right next to Lunar Rover.
Leupold Binoculars. Optical quality that's out of this world. Find them at a sporting goods store near you or at leupold.com.
Looking for the ultimate salmon and halibut fishing experience at a great price? Then make plans to enjoy the real news for the Wild Northern Fish-In. Taking place August 23rd through the 26th. You'll be fishing the protected waters around British Columbia's Queen Charlotte Islands during the day and enjoying first-class food and accommodations at night. If you want an incredible saltwater fishing experience you'll never forget, the Wild Northern Fish-In is for you. Find out more at therealnews.com. That's the real, REEL news.com for the Wild Northern Fish-In.
That's the sound you hear when a fish hits the new Sonic bait fish from Max Lure Company. This metal lure can be cast, trolled, or jigged and will catch just about anything that swims in the sea, the river, or the lake. The Sonic bait fish has a unique vibration and flutter that can be rigged in 7 different ways. With all sorts of eye-catching colors and weights available, you'll be reaching for the Sonic bait fish as your go-to lure. It's the Sonic bait fish. And that's another fish on, only from Max Lure Company.
Wetlands are some of the most important ecosystems on Earth, but our wetlands are quickly disappearing. Find out how you can help. Join Ducks Unlimited today.
We're back with one last cast from John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Let's run through some upcoming events. I'm emceeing a Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation banquet in Central Washington's Chelan County Fairgrounds this weekend. And I'll tell you what, I guarantee you, about 300 elk-loving friends of mine are going to be having a whole lot of fun while raising money for elk. One way they do this is through auctions and raffles. And I want to go ahead and take a moment to thank our sponsor, Loophole, because they stepped up and they donated a pair of BX2 Cascade binoculars valued at $300 to the cause. I've got a pair of these binoculars, and I've got to tell you, they're probably the finest pair I've ever owned. I use them for wildlife viewing, use them for stargazing, and you know what? After this weekend, somebody else who's attending this banquet is going to be using them too. Thanks, Loophole. The Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation really appreciates your support. In Southwest Washington, there's a number of late spring razor clam digs taking place on the coast. If you're in the mood for some fun on the beach, they're all morning digs, and they kick off this weekend, well, Saturday, the 17th at 9:12 a.m. There's a low tide where you can dig for them at Twin Harbors, Long Beach, Copalis, and Mock Rocks. May 18th, same deal, 9:59 a.m. May 19th, Monday, May 20th, Tuesday, Twin Harbors beaches are open, and digs that have been proposed but not yet approved are scheduled for the following dates and beaches and low tides. On May 27th and the 28th at 6:24 a.m. and 7:06 a.m. respectively, Twin Harbors and Long Beach are the places to be. On Thursday the 29th all the way through Sunday the 1st of June, well, you can dig all 4 beaches, Twin Harbors, Long Beach, Copalis, Mock Rocks. Look for low tide in the morning. That's where you're going to want to be. Be sure to check the WDFW website and your regulations for further details before you hit the beach. If you're a Saturday listener and have a kid, you might want to take them to Montana's Lone Pine, Giant Springs, or First Peoples Buffalo Jump State Park because National Kids to the Park Day is being celebrated at all 3 of these state parks with activities for kids this weekend. Call your closest state park for more information or just head down there today if you're a Saturday listener from 10 to 2 at Giant Springs State Park, at noon at Lone Pine, and 1 p.m. at Buffalo Jump State Park for what ought to be a memorable and fun day outside for the child in your life. Looking a little further out, there's a couple of events worth attending at Bruneau Dunes State Park on Saturday the 31st. Things kick off at 5 p.m. with a cooking demonstration by book author Stephen Weston, who will also have copies of his latest book on hand to purchase. Once you figure out how to cook a great tasting meal, you can wander over to the observatory to gaze at the planets and stars starting at 8 p.m. Now, these stargazing opportunities are actually available every Friday and Saturday throughout the summer at Bruneau Dunes State Park. Contact the staff there to find out more, or just head on out and have some fun. And in Oregon, one more reminder about those catfish derbies that we told you about. They're taking place Memorial Day weekend. You've got your choice between the first annual Rufus Catfish Derby being put on by Gorge Outfitter Supply in Rufus, and that one's taking place on the John Day arm of the Columbia River, or you can take part in the 28th annual Catfishing Derby on the Snake River, or I should say an arm of the Snake River in Huntington. That one's going on all weekend long. Both events ought to be a bunch of fun, especially if you want to take home some catfish. Contact Gorge Outfitters in Rufus or the Huntington Chamber of Commerce in Eastern Oregon for more details about these two fishing events. That's all for this week. We hope you enjoyed our return to Western Montana, as well as our preview of the fun you can have at the Rancho Leonero Resort in sunny Baja, Mexico. Be sure to tune in next weekend because we got a very special Memorial Day edition of Northwestern Outdoors Radio that will be coming to you from one of the most significant military memorial sites in American history. If you get a chance, check out our website at northwesternoutdoors.com. If you didn't catch this whole show, it's going to be posted there, well, by Monday night, and you can tune in then. You can also find previews of the upcoming show and links to our guests, and don't forget to like us and follow us on Facebook at Northwestern Outdoors Radio because we're always posting information there, and a lot of it just doesn't make it on the show because we just don't have time to say it all. Until next time, take care, God bless, and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.